Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lora Rolling and this is part 10 of the Christmas lights ornament tutorial. This is the Christmas lights ornament that we are making. It is so cute and colorful. And today we're doing the unit called Red Long Bulb. If you haven't completed videos 1 through 9, that's okay. You can do these out of order. I'll have those videos listed down in the description, so you can go back and watch those after you finish this one. We just have a few materials to get ready, so let's get them listed and then we can get started. Let's go. So in today's video, we're using all Miyuki Delicas. I have opaque dark cranberry, white pearl AB, opaque chartreuse AB, opaque yellow AB, opaque delphinium, and silver lined crystal. Just to keep it easy, I'm going to call this red, white, light green, yellow, blue, and silver. We're also going to need some beading thread and a beading needle. I like to use the Eslan Fire in the color crystal, and I use the 4-pound thread. You could also use 6-pound thread with this project. I also like to use a size 10 beading needle. You can use a size 12 if that's all you have. For implements, I like to hold my thread at the end of the video with long nose pliers, and I cut my thread with scissors. And then I'm going to show you how I end the tail using the fire method today. Alrighty, so that's all we need. Let's thread our needle with 3 feet of thread and then we can get started. So I have threaded my needle and now I'm going to pick up my first 3 beads that are all red beads. Then I'm going to take my 3 beads and I'm going to pull them down to the bottom of my thread, leaving about a 6-inch tail. Now I'm going to make a square knot, which means I'm going to cross on the top and then pull my tail through. Then I'm going to cross on the top again and pull my tail through. So it looks like we have a little snowman or 2 circles. Now I'm going to keep my 2 fingers in the loop that has the beads, and then I'm going to pull that top circle tight into a knot. Nice and firm. And now we have our tail right here. So what we're going to do is, I'm not going to touch it to the flame. I'm just going to get it super close so it melts the tip. And the tip now looks like a little teeny bead or a knot. So now I'm going to take my long thread and I'm going to pull on my long thread while I'm twisting the circle, which will bring that little knot on the end of the tail to meet the long thread. So then it looks like this. Now I'm going to take my thumbnail and I'm going to pull that knot down to the 3 beads as far down as it'll go until it turns into a little triangle. And that completes row number 1. I'm also going to tug this knot over to one side so that it looks like the thread is coming out of one of those beads. Now let's pick up 2 more red beads. And we're not going to sew through the bead that it looks like the thread is coming from. We're going to sew through the next one, the one that it's furthest away from. And then we're going to try to get those new beads, those two new ones that we just added, to sit right on top of their buddies. Now let's pick up two more red beads and sew through the next bead. Once again, making sure that those beads sit right on top of their buddies. And let's pick up two more red beads. And we're coming out of this bead, we're going to sew through the next bead. And we're also going to sew through the buddy right beneath it. So we're sewing through two beads this time, which means we are stepping up and are now ready to start the next row. So that completes row number 2. Let's start row number 3 by adding 2 red beads. Coming out of this bead, we're going to sew through the next. Now let's pick up 1 red bead. And we're coming out of this bead, we're going to skip the one that's set downward and we're going to sew through the one that's poking up. We're going to call that our up bead. Let's pick up 2 more red beads. Coming out of this bead, we're going to sew through the next. Let's pick up 1 red bead. We're coming out of this bead. We're going to skip the down bead and sew through the up bead. Let's pick up 2 more red beads. We're coming out of this bead. Let's sew through the next. And let's pick up 1 last red bead for this row. We're coming out of this bead, we're going to skip the down bead and we're going to sew through the up bead and through the bead right below that one. So we're sewing through 2 beads, completing our row, and now we are ready to start row number 4. Let's start by picking up 2 red beads and sew through the next. Let's pick up 1 red and sew through the up bead. Pick up 1 red and sew through the up bead. Let's pick up 2 reds and sew through the next. And we'll pick up 1 red and sew through the up bead. 1 red and sew through the up. 2 red, sew through the next. 1 red, sew through the up, and 1 red, and sew through the up bead and the bead below it. So sewing through those last 2 beads, we have now completed this row. Now we get to start row number 5. Let's start with 2 red, one red, 1 red, one red, two red, still making sure that those beads sit right on top of their buddies, one red, one red, one red, two red, one red, one red, and one red. Sewing through the last two beads, and now we get to start row number 6. Let's start with 2 white beads this time. One red, one red, one red, one red, two red beads, one red, one red, one red, one red, two white beads, one red, one red, one red, and one red. Sewing through the last two beads, and now we get to start row 7. Let's start with this one with 2 white beads, one white, one red, oops, one red, one red, one red, two red beads, one red, one red, one red, 1 red, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 silver, 1 silver, 1 silver, and 1 white. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now let's start row number 8. Let's start by picking up 1 white and 1 blue. One white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 silver, 1 silver, 1 white, and 1 white. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row number 9. Let's start with 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, oops, here we go, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white and 1 red, 1 white, 1 white, 1 silver, 1 silver, 1 silver, 1 white, and 1 white. Sewing through the last 2 beads, which completes that row, and now we're going to start row number 10. This one has a whole lot of white, but not all of them are white, so follow along. Let's see, we have the first 2 are white, 1 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 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 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 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 silver, 1 silver, 1 white, 1 1 white, and 1 white. Sewing through the last 2 beads, which completes this row, and now we get to start row 11. Let's start with 1 light green and 1 white. One white, one white, one white, one white, one light green, one white, one white, one white, one white, two white beads, one white, one white, one white, one white, one light green, one yellow, one white, one white, one white, one white, and one light green, 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 one silver, one light green, one light green, one light green, and one light green. Sewing through 2 beads, and now we can start row number 12. Let's start with 2 light green, one white, one white, one white, one white, one light green, one white, one white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 light green, 1 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 silver, 1 silver, 1 light green, 1 light green, 1 light green, and 1 light green. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and that completes row number 12. Now, if this is the first triangle that you've done with me, you'll see that in order to connect our units together to complete the project, we need to add connector beads and we need to cap our corners. So let's start with capping this corner with 1 light green, and on each unit they're different. So this particular unit, we're going to put white beads all the way down this side, but we're not going to add any beads to this side, and we're not going to have any beads on the top. We do have to cap the other 2 corners though, so we're going to add white beads all the way down, and I will call them out in case you are following along. 1 white, 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 and 1 white. Now we're going to cap this corner off with 1 white bead. And now we're going to turn our unit over, making it easier for us to sew. We're not going to pick up any beads. Instead, we're going to sew through all of the beads that are following this line on this quadrant. And we're going to end in this bead right here. So not picking up any more beads, let's just sew through each one of these beads. And while I'm explaining my continuing saga. I'm still on vacation, but this is our final day on vacation, and boy was it a doozy. We had like a grand finale of looking at colleges. We saw 3 of them today. So touring colleges takes a lot out of you, but it's so interesting to see each campus and all that fun stuff. So Logan's having a blast and really getting a feel for what each campus offers, and it's actually really exciting. But I'm kind of sad that it's the last day, but we've seen so many campuses in Southern California that I think he's gotten his fill and he's ready to go home for sure. So yeah, we're heading home, and so before you know it, I'm going to have a regular setting when you see my face when I say hello to you before each video and goodbye. So it'll be our regular setup because I'll be at home. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun during this vacation slash college tour expedition. And yeah, so we're heading back to Dallas tomorrow morning. So I will see you in the next video, bright and shiny and from my craft room. Sitting in my craft room. Anyways, okay, so we are now coming out of this corner bead. Let's cap this final corner with 1 light green bead. And now to secure this bead, we want to sew up 6 beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're coming out of the top of this bead. Let's zigzag by sewing down the bead right next to it and up the bead right next to that one. Sew up the bead right above that one and up 1 more bead right above that one, and let's zigzag again. We're coming out of the top of this bead. Let's sew down the bottom, or sew down the next bead right next to it, and then sew up the bead right next to that one. So we've zigzagged twice, making this bead super secure. Let's just sew up 2 more beads, 1 above the one we're coming out of, and 1 more above that bead. And that makes me feel super secure about this bead not coming loose. So now let's cut our thread by holding our thread with our long nose pliers and then getting our scissors as close to the bead as possible without cutting the bead. Just cut the thread, and now you have completed your red long bulb unit. You only need 1 of these, so I will see you in a second. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for being here with me today and beading along with me. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell button so you're notified when the next video comes out. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching.